I Acknowledge Mine by Jane Goodall, Part 2. To my mind, it should be required that all scientists working with laboratory animals know something about the animals and their natural behavior. They should also see for themselves how their procedures affect individual animals. Researchers should see firsthand any suffering they cause, so that they can balance the benefit to humans against the cost and suffering to the animal. Laboratory chimpanzees are prisoners, but they are guilty of no crimes. Rather, they're helping, perhaps, to relieve human suffering. Yet in some of the labs I have described, they are subjected to far harsher treatment than we give to criminals. Surely we owe them more than that. Even if all research labs could provide the best possible environment for the chimpanzees, there is still one question. Should chimpanzees be used at all? Of course, I wish I could wave a wand and see the lab cages standing empty. Of course, I hate the suffering that goes on behind the closed doors of animal labs. I hate even more the uncaring attitude that people who work in these labs so often show toward the animals in their power, no doubt to protect themselves from guilt. People training for certain jobs must overcome sympathy for the animals if they are to survive in their career. Scientists do things to animals that, from the animal standpoint or viewpoint, are torture. Animals in labs are used to test the safety of various products. They are injected with or forced to swallow different amounts to see how sick they get or if they die. Medical procedures and drugs are tried out on animals. Surgeries are practiced on animals. What is shocking is the lack of respect for the victims. There is an angry debate about the role of animals in medicine. It seems obvious that people on both sides are wrong. Scientists who claim that medical research could never have made progress at all without the use of animals are incorrect. And the animal rights activists who declare stridently that no advances in medicine have been made due to animal research are equally wrong. Let me return to chimpanzees and the question of whether we should use them in our medical research. Approximately 3,000 of them languish in medical research labs worldwide. More than half of this number are in the United States. Today, they are mostly used in researching spreadable diseases and testing vaccines. The experiments are stressful, and the conditions in which they are kept are bleak. We must become more aware of our moral responsibility for beings who are so like ourselves. Chimpanzees form close bonds that often last for a lifetime. Like us, they feel joy and sorrow and despair. They show many of the mental skills that until recently we thought only humans had. Do they not deserve the same consideration that we give to ourselves? Granted, we do not always show much consideration to one another. That is why it makes little sense to talk about the rights of chimpanzees. We no longer perform certain experiments on humans because we consider it wrong to do so. I suggest that we should also stop doing these experiments on chimpanzees. Why do I care so much? To try to change attitudes and actions in labs, why do I visit these nightmare places, knowing I will be haunted by what I see? The answer is simple. I have spent years in the Gombe forest learning from the chimpanzees. It's time to repay the debt I owe them. When I visit Jojo in his tiny prison, I think of David Graybeard, that special chimpanzee who first introduced me to his companions at Gombe. He even allowed me to groom him. I remember one special event. I was sitting near David when I noticed an oil nut palm, a favorite food of chimps. I held it out to David on my palm. For a moment, I thought he would ignore me, but then he dropped the nut and gently closed his finger around my hand. Glancing at my face, he then turned away. I understood his message. I don't want the nut, but it was nice of you to offer it. We had communicated. So when I am with Jojo, I remember David Graybeard and the lessons he taught me. I feel deep shame that we have deprived Jojo of almost everything. He will not experience the freedom to choose how he will spend his time. Nature's sounds are gone. The comforts of the forest are gone. All are gone. Here, in the lab, the world is concrete and steel. It is loud. Clanging bars, banging doors, deafening chimpanzee calls. It is a world of no windows, nothing to play with. A world where family and friends are torn apart and locked away alone in prisons. I look into Jojo's eyes, admitting my own complexity in what humans have done. Or complicity in what humans have done. I feel the need for forgiveness. He reaches out and again touches the tear trickling down my mask. Some of the labs discussed in this selection have changed their practices, partly in response to Jane Goodall's criticism. For example, SEMA, which later changed its name, no longer keeps chimpanzees in isolettes. The chimpanzees now live in larger spaces and sometimes have contact with other chimpanzees.